The Incredible Hulk will not be presented this evening.
Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners. Welcome back, everybody. Time again for Word Balloon, the comic book conversation show. John Suttress here. It's time for a fireside chat with my good buddy Matt Fraction. Matt,
hey buddy.
Not only you're killing it, man. Not only Godzilla, Monarch, Legacy of Monsters, but also Adventure Man. I was talking to Terry Dodson earlier this week, and I'm glad you're joining us to talk about both. Not only the anticipation for the next issue of Adventure Man, but also the anticipation for Godzilla X Kong coming up in a couple weeks.
Yeah, in fact, I just got my comps of the new Adventure Man today, so it's real. It's happening. It's really happening.
It looks amazing, man. You know, Terry's killing it. I told him I love not only the regular interiors and everything, but even those kind of like theater kind of Art Deco pages of the credits. The backgrounds on those. No, it's retro in the best way, Matt.
Yeah, our designer Leia is really fantastic. Ties it all together wonderfully. It really ties the room together.
Yeah. The carpets match the drapes. Exactly. But hey, excited. So the final issue of Arc 3 is coming out soon, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think next week probably. If I got my comps today, I think it's probably Wednesday. I really should write these things down. I'm bad at this.
Yeah,
I'm bad at this.
So that's what the internet's for, Matt. It's all right.
Yeah, it's out there somewhere.
And we're just 2 weeks away from, or maybe less, for Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah, it's really something. I got to see it a while back. Before the effects were all finished. It's if you like movies that have Godzilla and Kong in them and an X in the title and also a colon and a subtitle, this is your movie. That's all I think the NDA lets me say.
Well, I'm an old school Godzilla fan. Certainly grew up on the Toho movies, and we talked about this before when the show was brand new. But Matt, I'm kind of the best lab rat. There you go. There he is. I'm the best lab rat to talk about this stuff because I got to be honest. I didn't watch any of the 4 new movies. No disrespect, but I'm like, I don't know. Do I give a shit about Godzilla anymore? And then I found out, as I told you before, it's like, oh, Matt's one of the writers of Monarch. And then Kelly Sue is like, no. Matt co-created Monarch. And I'm like, well, now I have to watch it.
Yeah, and my excellent partner, Chris Black, who did Outcast and Severance and did some Enterprise back in the day, and it's fun. It's a fun sandbox to play in. You should definitely check out Kong Skull Island. I think it's my favorite of them all.
Okay.
And then there's one Godzilla King of the Monsters that just has a shitload of monsters. So.
Well, man, I got to be honest. That's nice. I remember a few years ago, I was staying with Bendis before Rose City Comic-Con, and Pacific Rim 2 came on. And I had seen it before and everything. But, I wanted to hang with Brian. So I'm talking to him. He's like, don't you want to watch the movie? I'm like, no, I want to talk to you. And listen, I like the Pacific Rim movies fine. But, and this is why I kind of stayed away from the legendary movies, where I'm just like, I don't know, man. I really want the human story, and that's what Monarch had.
That was the show, yeah. Hopefully, that was what we went for anyway.
Well, absolutely succeeded, dude. In fact, here I see comments happening right now.
Oh,
Indeed, Jack says Gohira, and
hey, Jack.
and Flo says Kong Skull Island is a classic.
Yeah,
That's great to hear.
it's a blast. It's a lot of fun, and the sort of the Godzilla movies kind of have a weight. Godzilla versus Kong kind of shook it off a little bit, like, but those first two have a kind of weight to them, you know. But Kong Skull Island is basically like, what if Apocalypse Now, but Kong? So, sold. I'm in.
Well, and I'm curious, and again, I don't want you to spoil obviously what's coming up in a couple weeks, but I know that obviously the portal to the inner world was discovered before Monarch, but the mythology. Did you guys add the mythology of? Oh no, there's a whole network of, for lack of description, wormholes. You're not. Yes.
We may have been. I think so, but also, I mean, yeah. I think that was us. Yeah. I think it was maybe the first time it was articulated anyway, but yeah.
Was so, and again, without spoiling, the information we learn in Monarch, will that come into play then in the new movie?
You'll be a little bit ahead of some of the characters. You know what I mean? It coheres everything kind of together, but it's not. There's no real explicit links. You know what I mean? But like if you've watched the show, you'll be a couple steps ahead of some of the characters when stuff happens.
Okay.
It's all part of this kind of mission to kind of grow out the mythography of the MonsterVerse, right?
100%.
Figure out how the hell it all makes sense and works together. It's maybe yeah. There's actually a guy at Legendary. His name is Barnaby Legg, and his official title is Mythology Manager. And you get on Zooms, and half of his office is like Godzilla and Kong shit, and the other half is Dune shit. And it's Barnaby's job to keep it all in his head like a Mentat Wikipedia. And he's like, Barnaby is yeah, I don't know. But just throw questions at him and he answers. Or tries to answer, right?
So did Barnaby
working with him?
Did Barnaby devise the network of wormholes, or
no, I mean, I think we were the network. I think we kind of put the network idea together, but there were different kind of gates, kind of different entryways and passageways. But we did the subway system kind of idea.
Well, it's great, and we'll get into it.
Please don't. If I'm wrong, I don't mean to take credit where it's not due, but I think that was me and Chris. So that was the sort of thing that was like the movie. The movies are about exploring that world. Our show was kind of about figuring out. Oh wait, there's an invisible subway.
I love it, Matt, and hey, I'll credit all three of you then for devising.
Well, and and that's there's so many people on the feature side of things that but yeah, no, it's been it's been 10 years since the MonsterVerse got started, right? It was 2014, so
yeah,
that's math, crazy. Right? 14 minus 24 minus 14 equals 10. It's been 10 years.
You did the math there. Very good. I like it. A couple more comments from everybody. Flo says, loved Monarch Season 1. I feel it fulfilled the promise of the first movie's family element. Another reason for me to see the Cranston movie.
Yeah.
And Jack says, whose idea was it to get Kurt and Wyatt Russell to play the same character at 2 times in his life? Did the characters come first, or the fantastic fucking casting idea? Feel free, man.
The character came first. We knew that Shaw was going to be the linchpin between the two eras. And we knew that he had spent some time in Axis Mundi, and that had disrupted his age. So he is 90 but looks a dashing 70. But it was our brilliant casting director Ronna Kress, who was like, I've heard that Kurt and Wyatt have always been kind of looking for a thing, but they had always been pitched father and son. So when they heard the idea of playing the same character 2 times, and that we sort of shorthanded like his kind of journey in that season is we watched we just for our own linearity, we referred to Wyatt as Lee and Kurt as Shaw. But it's kind of, you watch Lee become Shaw and you watch Shaw remember what it was like to be Lee. But they would show up on each other's days off and like watch work, and they would run lines together, and they really, busted ass to make that performance work.
Well, I mean, of course, we had decades of loving Kurt and his career from boy to man to senior man. And Wyatt, my God, I loved him in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Yeah, he's a blast. And like the funniest thing is that he's a whole different energy than Kurt. Like Wyatt's like Gary Cooper, but you can watch him like put Kurt on. And there are some of my favorite bits of him in season 1 is you'll see him kind of like, all right, kind of get into this kind of Kurt, but he's very Gary Cooper, he's very taciturn and kind of strong, silent, he looks like a golden age of Hollywood kind of movie star. I got a picture from the set where he was just kind of leaning on with a period pickup truck, and he's just kind of leaning on it, like, looking at the sunset over the river. And like, I took a photo. I was like, Jesus Christ, it looks like, it looks like a still from a Bud Boddicker Western or something like that.
Awesome.
So it's fun to watch. It's fun to watch Wyatt kind of pretend to be Kurt in these moments where he has to kind of jazz things up. You know what I mean? And but for the most part, he's got a very different energy. And then you watch Kurt twist. I think Kurt's really heartbreaking in episode 10, and you watch him kind of completely become Wyatt.
Absolutely. And again, Matt, I shouldn't have these feels.
No,
you
should.
Godzilla movie and for a Godzilla story. That's the thing, man. You and Chris and company really, it's such a human story. And that's why you guys pulled me in, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I'm really enjoying this.
And can I also like shout out to the brilliant Mari Yamamoto who plays Keiko. You can watch in that scene Mari have 4 different and unique nervous breakdowns, moment to moment to moment to moment, and it just completely destroys her. And she did the take and like looked over to me, and all I could do was just kind of pat my heart. Like it just like, she just kills me. She's so incredible, and she's going to be in a movie with Brendan Fraser. I think they started shooting this week, and it's the guy that directed Beef's movie. I can't. I'm useless, but yeah, she is going to be a fucking megastar. Yeah, and we had Anna Sawai, who is Shogun incarnate. And to watch Anna in that and in this, and just like, oh my God, we got so lucky with our cast. Our cast is incredible, down to a performer.
I so agree. And again, nod to the casting director for assembling this incredible cast.
Yeah.
And everybody is just so good. Yeah. And God, the kid from isn't the kid from Silicon Valley? Isn't that young Bill?
Oh no, Workaholics. Anders.
Yes, of course you're Workaholics. Go on.
Anders doing stuff you've never, putting on different colors, and he's just heartbreaking, and he's terrific. He's the best.
Unbelievable, man, and truly the entire cast. Same with and now there's all right. So Kate is our Shogun girl,
and that's why,
and I'm sorry, and now I'm forgetting what her name was. It
Keiko is
Keiko's the grandmother, and I'm hip to her.
Mari Yamamoto, yeah.
And then who's Kate's?
May is Kiersey Clemens. It's funny. I've said since I think her first day of shooting that she's my favorite special effect in the show. And that in a movie as laden with special effects as The Flash, to so woefully underuse her seems criminal. She's brilliant. She is. Did I tell you the story about putting her name in the script last time I was on? There's a moment where she walks in to a room and is supposed to be surprised, and I just walk in and I just wrote May, for the character name, and then for dialogue I just in parentheses put Kiersey Clemens, exclamation point. Like, nothing I write is going to be as good as what you do. So in that moment, walk in the door and delight me. Just be you, Kiersey. Just go, you know. And she's like the kind of performer who will do, like, we're doing a pickup, and she did the line one way, and she's like, "Oh, let me do it like this. Oh, maybe a little like." She just kept making these like micro adjustments and gave us like 6 different flavors of one line, just one after the next. She's just such an intuitive. Those eyes just fall into her eyes. She like listens to everyone she's with, and you can just like, she's great. Like, even in scenes where she's just in the background, like she's not necessarily a prime mover in a scene, she's just clocking everything, and you're watching it all play on her face. And there was a moment we did this premiere event at Century City in LA, you know, where they shot Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. And there's a bit in the second episode where Ren Watanabe, who plays Kentaro, is drunk and kind of not quite booty calls, but kind of booty calls, kind of drops by. And I didn't see it on when we were in edit, you know, I couldn't tell watching it on a screen, but blown up on a theater screen, you can see there's a moment where Kiersey looks at Ren and looks at him in that suit and thinks about it for a minute and decides she's not going to blow up her life quite like that, and changes her mind. And it's just this thing that passes over her face, and it's like, she's so good. She's so good. There should be an Oscar category for casting director and ensemble. I think it should be like a casting director and the ensemble they put together for a project. That's one of my 3 Oscar reforms. The other one is stunt guys. Stunt guys need stunt Oscar.
Well, and as a former SAG member, I know that those categories are represented.
Yeah.
So I had to put my membership on hold this year.
Yeah.
The dues are killing me. So need more patrons, everybody. Need more sponsors for Word Balloon. So Johnny can get his screeners again.
That strike didn't help anybody's pocketbooks, that's for sure. But hey, now it sounds like, but if the Teamsters hit it, man, they were there for us. We're going to be there for them. So
yeah, good Lord, I know we're literally
Union
on the
strong,
brink, everybody.
Man. Go for it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely, and we're on the brink, everybody. If you don't know, potentially of another strike. Yeah. Hopefully, the studios will do the right thing and realize, they're like injured football players walking off the field. Where this year is really the rehab year, and it really isn't going to, if whatever normal is going to be post these strikes, really isn't going to start till next year, everybody.
Yeah, at best. Yeah. And in that venture capital equity kind of mentality of eternal growth forever in an upwards direction, that isn't possible. But if you must delude yourself that it is possible, then like just imagine it a little slower. The amount of money, the disparity of money is insane, and there's, as they say, no one moves without the crew. So good luck, guys, and we're here for you if you need it.
Absolutely, man. No, I hear you. How much did the strikes impact you, Matt?
Oh, it was 5 months without a paycheck. It was a lot. Yeah, it was tough. And we couldn't write. We couldn't post. Some of the episodes I hadn't seen until they aired. Because posting was working on episodes in post was writing duties, was not something I was willing to do. So, I think episodes 3 through 10 I hadn't seen until they were airing, and I could have watched them once the strike ended, but decided like, well, they're done, they're locked, they're delivered. If I watch them now, it's just going to drive me crazy. So I may as well watch them when it airs.
That's got to be scary. I mean, given
it sucks. It's super sucks. I didn't get to, I didn't get to work with Leo Ross, our music director and supervisor. I didn't get to be a part of the part where the show really gets kind of made, and there's stuff that I'd change or I would have protested had I been a part of the process, but doesn't bother me as much as, making sure everybody's making a living wage and that the writers of tomorrow have jobs. So, but yeah, no, it sucked. It sucked because it was we just stopped. You know, I didn't open Outlook for 5 months. It was great.
Everyone's obviously wondering, will we get a season 2?
Yeah, I hope. You know, I know that the numbers were really strong and they were really happy, and it's yeah, fingers crossed. Let Apple know. Watch it. Leave reviews on iTunes and all that kind of stuff. I know many people share everyone else's hope and optimism.
Is there going to be any sort of, well, and I know obviously the new movie again in just a couple of weeks,
Mhm.
but another thing that screwed you guys kind of was the lack of a chance to go to conventions and really hype it up and everything. So in a post show sense, is there that opportunity there?
I don't, you know, I pitched the idea of doing a season finale event. Like, what if we do like a green carpet season finale? Because the actors were on strike, so they couldn't promote the show when it launched. And they were like, yeah, no, we're on to other shows. It's like, oh, okay, no, that's fair. But yeah, you know, we were the number one show until Masters of the Air came out, you know, which understandable, but like it was strong. A lot of people watched it, really strong response, and like a strong global response, which was important too, because it was around the world all at the same time.
Well, easy to understand, easy to translate.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, I get it. So is the onus then more so on Apple than Legendary for season 2?
I don't know. You know, it's there's a lot of moving parts that are outside of my wheelhouse. You know, beyond just the fact that it's who Legendary has a foot in both movies and TV. Toho is a partner in the process. If anybody hasn't seen Godzilla -1, oh my god, wow, what a great movie. But yeah, it is just a lot of, you know, and all that stuff. But they're working on it. They're trying to figure it out. But I think the response was strong. I think the numbers were good. So, you know, I like our chances.
You know, that's the thing. And literally, it's like a three-punch. I before doing this, I was watching boxing. It's like a good 3-punch combination, man.
Yeah.
You got Monarch, and then you got Godzilla -1, and here comes Godzilla X Kong.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. My friend Ivan Brandon was in Tokyo and went to see Godzilla -1 at Toho's IMAX theater, and there was a trailer for Monarch in front of it. So he took a picture of the screen with the Monarch trailer before. That's amazing. I wish I could have seen it. But yeah, Godzilla -1. It's so good.
Well, then it sounds like Ivan is feeling better. I know he had a little health scare a while ago, and again with COVID, I don't know how long ago that was. But it's been a while since I've talked to him, so I'm glad to hear that he's traveling to Tokyo.
Yeah, he had a one of those Brazilian butt lift operations that went terribly awry. For a minute, the booty was popping, but then it actually popped.
Deflated.
So now it's kind of like Baron Harkonnen's neck waddle. He's on the mend. It'll be fine. He'll get through it. But you know, Ivan, he always wants a little junk in the trunk, and he went about it the lazy man's route. You know, squats, buddy. Next time, do some squats.
Don Lenza. On a lesser show, Kurt and Wyatt would have been a neat idea in Monarch. The story makes them a great character, great writing.
Oh, thank you, Don. Thank you very much. Yeah, I mean, knowing he was the linchpin. You know, we knew he's kind of the load bearing character, you know, until the end of episode 9, you know, and then but yeah, it was, yeah, he was the kind of, I kept saying, like, you know, it's the old Reggie Jackson line. I would tell Kurt, like, you're the straw that stirs the drink, you know.
So, and again, I don't want to spoil, and God only knows if there will be a season 2, but I suppose technically, much like Keiko surviving, Shaw might have survived the incidents of exactly. There you go. Good answer. Matt is shrugging for our audio audience, and that's fine. Because listen, again,
we got lots more story we hope to get to tell, you know. So
that would be incredible.
Fingers crossed.
Here. Now, Legendary is also involved in comics. Yeah. Is there a possibility we might see a comic book continuation of Monarch?
I've had a couple of conversations with some folks over there, and I keep promising to get back to them, but the show just ate so much. Like it just ate every moment of my life for almost 5 years. So I probably owe a couple of emails. We've talked about it. I think part of that would be, if the show is renewed and all that kind of stuff. I think there's definitely avenues we could explore, which would be a lot of fun. And Mariko Tamaki is in the writers' room with us, and Al Letson is in the writers' room. So we have like there's 3 comics people there ready to rock. So I think we'd be well covered to kind of play with that. But it's just been such a time issue that I haven't been able to think about anything else really.
Would you be possibly involved in a supervisory or?
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you, man. That's over speculation. I respect that.
Yeah. It's we'd have to find stories that we could tell that worked as comics that didn't feel like rejected show ideas, which is interesting because in a comic we could do more with the kind of big spectacle. And not that we were short on spectacle in our show, but like there's always a kind of, we're always really conscious of like whatever we put on screen has to be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the movie special effects. So, make it count. Right. So, but we could do kind of bigger, crazier stuff. I don't know. I think there's a lot of room for those stories.
Some of the other Titans that we saw in the TV show. First of all, I think you guys absolutely succeeded, given the limits of a television.
Oh yeah. I mean, and we were, we were generously budgeted. Like, and our VFX supervisor has worked on the MonsterVerse movies. He was since 2014. I mean, we were, it was meticulous and expenses were not spared.
Do you have names for some of the Titans that we saw in the series? Because obviously we know the Toho names.
Yeah, Barnaby named them, but it was over the strike. So I know the star-faced mole snow pangolin is called a frostvark.
Okay.
There's I got it somewhere. Yeah, I don't. It was one of those things where it was like they couldn't talk to us about it because of the strike, and then we got here the Titan names, and like, oh, all right. Well, I'm not going to remember those. Yeah, it was just it was like literally right as we were doing the press junket stuff. Like, oh, you might get some questions about these. I'm like, what? They said what is a yeah. So Frostvark, I know is one.
So
mantle claw, the big crab that almost eats John Goodman, is called a mantle claw.
Okay. And the winged one at
that was named the Ion Dragon at the end. We always just called it the Lawton Dragon or whatever, but yeah, the Ion Dragon.
I like it. So was Barnaby then not technically a writer? So was he?
Yeah, because he's not in the Writers Guild. And he's a producer. Yeah, I believe So yeah, no, that wasn't. That was not strike breaking. He was he's not Guild or anything like that. So
okay,
or I don't know, maybe it wasn't Barnaby, but Legendary came up with those names. I don't know who at Legendary came up with it.
All right, fair enough.
But Chris and I were both like, okay, Frostvark.
I love it, man.
There we go.
Pete Beiser has a comment. Always makes me proud when my favorite comic creators make the leap to showcase their storytelling in other mediums. Great job, Matt. Love the show. Very cool.
Thanks, Pete. That's very nice to say. Thank you.
And Comics Coffee Metal. Thanks for a great show. Has anyone lobbied for
Anguirus? Yeah, I mean everybody has their own kind of pet favorites, and I think if one of the things I would change if I could, I feel like we missed an opportunity not having a MonsterVerse iteration of a classic Toho monster show up that we haven't seen in the movies. I wish we could have gotten to that, but it was just a little too much, But we're always we live in hope, right?
Sure. And forgive me again, my ignorance when it comes to the movies. Does Mothra still have the girls, the twin girls?
No, but kind of. But
okay,
not. There's no singing. But there's a kind of. And part of this, I can't remember. Some of this was in a script. I don't remember how much, but there's a implied connection she has with a lady, and it is a kind of you have to kind of read between the lines and squint, but you can see it's there a little bit. There's definitely an implied connection that Mothra has with the character.
That's great. You know, a lot of the classic Toho films, everybody, if you don't already know, and I would imagine a lot of you are Godzilla fans, they're all running on Max right now, or a lot of them are running on Max.
A lot of them are, yeah, and they're all restored, and it's terrific.
God, I wish they would run more of the ones from the 90s and the 2000s, because, and I know I told you this in our last conversation, one of my best radio friends, massive Godzilla fan, would get the bootlegs of the Japanese films in the 90s.
Yeah.
And was just like, oh, you wouldn't believe how great these movies still are. And I'm like, all right, man, I trust you, you know, whatever.
They might be some of those might be on the Criterion channel, because Criterion put out that big box set too, if you're a Criterion subscriber.
Good to know.
Yeah, Max has a bunch of them. There were some and I can't believe I'm saying this, but like there's like 4 not terrible Gamera movies where they kind of reinvented Gamera. I think the first one was in like maybe 2001. That might be a little early, but and then Arrow Video, if you know Arrow Video, they put out a kind of Gamera collection to kind of stand side by side with that Godzilla collection. So it's a part of that set too. But yeah, there's like a trilogy, and then there's like a new, like a standalone one. I don't know if there've been more or not lately, but yeah, there's not terror. It's crazy to watch a Gamera movie and be like, it's not bad, you know.
That's great to hear. What was the name of the Gamera studio? Do you know? Because they were different from Toho.
Yeah, they weren't Toho.
I'm putting you on the spot, man.
Yeah, why are you doing that?
I don't know. Maybe somebody in the channel know. Don't kill yourself. Do not sprain your brain, Matt. Okay, feel free. Matt's getting up to
this is all I got stuff right here. Give me
excellent, fantastic. I love that he's doing it, everybody. So that's hilarious. Too funny. I love it. You can hear me?
Yeah, hit me with something else.
All right, no worries. Time and temp. Robert Goulet, 84 today, everybody. I'm kidding. Poor Steve Lawrence. We lost Steve Lawrence, Matt. I'm still in mourning.
I did not realize we still had Steve Lawrence. I am embarrassed to say.
I was driving one of the best oldie stations we have. It's a new station. You weren't around when they were created, but they were playing Steve Lawrence's "Go Away, Little Girl" today from 1962.
Oh, man.
And that's his only pop hit of like not him doing Sinatra, you know, and that kind of classic variety show singing and everything. Now I'm a big Steve Lawrence fan. I'm very sad, everybody. Go watch reruns of Carol Burnett for your your diet of Steve Lawrence. And of course, Edie was all right too. His wife, Edie Gourmet.
Yeah, she was great.
Sure.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God, Steve Lawrence was alive, and now he's dead.
You know what sucked? Gilbert Gottfried wanted him for his podcast, and and sadly, he had already started to suffer Alzheimer's, so he turned him down. And you can only imagine the show business stories.
DAIEI, DAIEI Studios.
DAIEI, DEI.
DAIEI, DAIEI.
Thank you. Excellent. Very cool.
And those recent, they were even earlier. I was off. The Gamera reboot, 95. There's Gamera, Guardian of the Universe. Gamera 2, Attack of Legion, which is pretty great. And then Gamera 3, Awakening of Virus, which is also a fantastic wrap up. And then there's been another one subsequent. Gamera the Brave from 2006.
Outstanding. Wow. And I think I only started watching Gamera.
Linking back and your
hold on, zooming in. Put it back up.
There you go.
That's a wonderful idea for a book. Jesus.
Yeah, I got a shelf of them over here.
That's outstanding, man. You know, they do a big Godzilla convention here in Chicago every year.
Yeah. I was bummed that we were on strike. I think Monarch would have killed there.
Yeah. Oh,
G-Fest. I've always wanted to go, but never made it.
That's right. Absolutely. And I was going to say, Gamera, I really only became aware of Gamera when I saw them run the movies on Mystery Science Theater.
Many people did. Yeah. Yeah. So the idea that there's actually good ones is kind of shocking, but
Yeah.
it's really good. It's really good.
And obviously Toho, I would imagine, pleased with the results of Monarch.
Yeah, it's the big. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And in fact, I wrote to Takamasa, the kind of big guy, and it was like, Takamasa sounded like what an amazing time to be a fan of Godzilla. Like I just saw Godzilla -1, and oh my god, it's boy. I hope yeah. So yeah, they're psyched and yeah, and made an amazing movie. So
Matt, do you learn tricks watching what Toho did with a fifth, if not more, of the or less of the budget of the legendary films? I mean,
oh sure, yeah. Well, the director, whose name escapes me, I should have had coffee before we did this, was a VFX supervisor. So he kind of streamlined the process where he was in the room with his people working in tandem with everybody all at once. So like he knew exactly the shot he needed. He knew the coverage he needed. He knew the camera's going to go from here and it's going to stop right there. So I need exactly this much background or this much set extension. And he was, it was his career was VFX supervision. So he built it a little bit like how Pixar builds things. Like it's, and there's a lot of other things too, but just being smart, and a clever blend of everything. I think, he took a lot of the stuff that, that they'd sort of worked out through doing Shin Godzilla earlier, which was my previous favorite Godzilla movie. But yeah, it's just he's a like our VFX supervisor met him the other day at the creative. I don't know the Emmys, the Emmys for like the Emmys they don't put on TV.
The technical awards, everybody, yeah.
But he got to meet him and talk a little bit, and we were talking about
That's cool. I remember when Letterman hosted the Oscars, and they referred to the Oscar technical awards, and they're like, yeah, everybody was treated to their choice of chicken and fish or a cash bar. And it's like, yeah, unfortunately, man.
Yeah.
And especially in the modern era, how important the technical people are. It's only becoming more and more important.
Yeah. And I think, I guess it's because the Oscars are what tomorrow night or day after tomorrow.
Sunday night.
It's been in my head lately of like, maybe we don't need to hear all 5 songs.
Or the Council of Elders that they've done the last couple of years, where they've got the nominees, and it's like, Kurt, you've been so wonderful your whole career. No, move on.
There's maybe some, yeah. I got thoughts. I got Oscar thoughts, man.
At least we don't have Rob Lowe singing a Snow White anymore.
Did you see the documentary about the guy that produced that Oscars? I can't remember what it's called. Jesus Christ.
I know what you're talking about, though.
It's like I got plaque in my brain. Is just plaque. There's a great documentary about the guy that produced that. That's kind of really a beautiful little movie.
And don't worry, Matt, about the plaque. You're doing fine. I'm throwing a lot of shit at you, so I appreciate it. Elijah says, what advice would you have for a young writer who's particularly trying to break into screenwriting?
Well, Elijah, do you mean professionally or do you mean artistically, if that makes sense?
We can wait for an answer, or you can start answering one of those possibilities.
I am deeply resentful and resistant to screenwriting books. Especially when you're young and starting out, because when I was young and starting out, each book kind of became my dogmatic instructor. And it took me a long time to understand the difference between rules and guidelines. And it was hampering, right? It was kind of damaging, I think. Because I was writing to a formula before I knew what I was writing, That said, one of my favorite kind of books on writing is by a guy named John York. It's called Into the Woods. And And not only is it kind of brilliant and trenchant and wise, but he does this kind of brilliant thing in the appendix of like, here are like the 20 most famous screenwriting books or whatever. And here's how they're all saying exactly the same thing. And this guy calls it this, and this guy calls it that, and maybe it's here and maybe it's there. And he kind of presents this range of like, oh, look, so when people are talking about your first act break, it happens in this kind of channel rather than, who is it? The Save the Cat guy is like, if it doesn't happen on page 27, it's bullshit or whatever. But
is that McKee was story?
No, although I got McKee issues. But
I understand.
There's a guy named Blake Snyder wrote a book called Save the Cat.
Okay.
His assistant wrote a book called Save the Cat. But he's dead, so I can say that.
All right.
Anyway, so I like Into the Woods because it sort of talks about story from a Western perspective and tradition in a much more holistic kind of way. It's more like reading Joseph Campbell than a screenwriting book, right? It's really sort of about the idea of story and how it works and how you see these kind of echoes and themes and structures, and like, time is time, right? It goes in a straight line. That's how we experience it anyway, right? Most of us. So just by virtue of telling a story, your story is going to have a beginning, your story is going to have a middle, and then your story is going to have an end, just because that's how we live. Right? Unless you're in an active dissociative episode, stories have beginnings, middles, and ends, right? Not necessarily in that order, though, right? So, but it doesn't, I don't know. So check out Into the Woods. And there's a million screenplays online. You can see how other people do it, right? We can do it for TV too. Like that was really helpful, just reading other screenplays. Getting really granular, like find one that you love. It'd be interesting if there's an art, like William Goldman was really great at this. William Goldman and then Shane Black kind of carried it on from him, like figured out how to make screenplays compulsively readable, but understanding that like in comics, for example, 3/5 of what I write, I had an intern calculate that one time for me. 3/5 of what I write never sees print. It's all stuff to the artist. Right? So 2/5 of what I write is in the little bubbles. Everything else is just an artist and editor sees it, right? Sometimes a colorist. But Shane Black, William Goldman and Shane Black got very good at writing screenplays that were fun to read. It was like a sales tool. Like I'm gonna write, like, how do I I make this enjoyable to read, rather than regardless of the story, take the story, figure the story out, all that stuff. But then you got to figure out how to write it in a way that is compulsively readable for whoever's reading it, because it's not really the document that's, going on.
Elijah has answered, and I think you're on the
professionally path. Then, right?
Yes.
There's a million. Well, there's maybe not a million. Being in LA helps. Getting a gig as a writer's room assistant is kind of the traditional foot in. It's why we went on strike, was to protect the ladder in. Writing and getting things made. But the camera on your phone is actually higher resolution than the camera Stanley Kubrick shot 2001: A Space Odyssey with. The sound is still a little bullshitty, but you can, making things, whether you direct them or not, but find somebody who wants to learn how to direct, right, and start making short films, all that kind of stuff. But the traditional model is, getting a gig as a room assistant, and it is a incredible job. I was never a room assistant and could never have been a room assistant. These are people who kind of sit and transcribe everything and then sift through all of it and produce these cogent summaries of the day's ideas in a document every day. You get a writer's room with 10 people in there speaking a mile a minute, and you've got somebody just, but that then will tend to lead to a story editor position. I'm kind of mezzo on film school as an idea, but they are terrific networking opportunities. But getting gigs in the industry is certainly a way in, and write, finish what you write, start something else, all that just that consistency, I think works, and I think there are so many different avenues and venues to like get your work made and seen that are so new. I don't, I don't even understand them. I've seen people make videos on TikTok that are like the brilliance of like what Michel Gondry or Spike Jonze needed an entire a 4-minute music video for. These guys do it in like 20 seconds, right? Which I think is as much about writing as it is directing. But yeah, I think traditionally being in LA, getting a gig in a writer's room, or just somewhere adjacent to that, and meeting people. And if you're in a film school, if you're at USC or UCLA somewhere, being in the industry, you'll meet people and network and all that kind of stuff. And their internships are really good too. And places are always looking for interns, which is really great because you do a good job as an intern, then you've got somebody, who will recommend you along the way. And there's just a lot. The networking is a big part of it, or you could do it like me, which is make comics and then find out that David Goyer reads them and have David Goyer ask if you want to come write on his TV show. Because he's like, I know you're supposed to do all this other stuff, but I can read your comics. I know you do this. I know you know how to do this. You want to write a TV show? Yes, David. Yes, I do. So that's another thing too. Write comics and have David Goyer like them. That's my secret.
And now being in the showrunner position that you've been in, are there, and you don't have to name names, but are there comic writers that you would pull in and say, hey, you can do this?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Mariko Tamaki is a perfect
example. Of course,
example.
You just said it.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, I and she had done, I think, more animation, I think, than live action she did and stuff. But I was like, gave Chris her books and I'm like, she's amazing. She's great. It was nice to have another Japanese voice in the room too, but it's just like, she's fantastic. Like let's Mariko is brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. All the time. Yeah.
That's the thing, Matt, bringing it back to the show itself, the authenticity that we saw in every location that the show provides. And absolutely.
Did I tell you about the alley last time? Did I tell you about where we filmed? I told you about the alley, about Piss
Alley?
Tell
people again, though, because there might be new people watching.
The alley where they're at the noodles and shop in episodes 1 and 2, and Kate and Maine can go and kind of run together, was an alley colloquially known as Piss Alley, but it was apparently where the American GIs during the occupation ran the black market from, and when they left, they kind of gave the keys to what became the Yakuza. And while we were filming, a bunch of our Japanese crew like would take me aside and like, you guys know what this is, right? Like, it's really cool that you're shooting here. This is not the Tokyo America comes to film, right? It was so gnarly. There was a take with with Anna and Kiersey that was disrupted by 2 rats having sex on a garbage can next to where they were standing. I heard Anna scream, and I thought, and a clatter, and I thought that a light had fallen on her and we'd killed our leading lady, and went running out of this restaurant and like where whatever it was, running, and she and Kiersey were like hugging each other like the Scooby-Doo, Velma and the other one. And I was like, whoa, they were direct fucking. And I turned to our director, Matt Shackman. I'm like, Matt, and Jess Hall, our DP, Jess, tell me you got it in the shot. You know how long we had to train those rats? You know how long that took? It was like $80,000 to teach 2 rats to fuck on a garbage can. Didn't make the final cut, but yeah, it was gnarly. It was gnarly. It was like Booze Town when I lived in Chicago in the 90s. Gnarly.
Yikes! Alex Chung has been to Piss Alley.
Piss Alley, great food. Yes, fantastic food and a great neighborhood. Like, it's really cool. It's this neighborhood that's all warehouses. And like they pull up in the doors and all these restaurants and little bars spill out, or like merchants, like I was going to buy everybody bootleg 90s West Coast hip hop shirts. That was going to be my I went to Japan and here I bought you a bootleg Tupac shirt or whatever. But then as it gets later and later, the garage doors close. And then by like 4 a.m, it's just box cities. It's just they're all gone. It's just you and the rats and the drunks who have not found their way home yet. There was a young woman we watched make it about half a block and throw up, and half a block and throw up, and her boyfriend and a friend were trying to get her home. Like, we're just like all just women, just violently ill, just everywhere, walking away, and like we'd kind of see how far you get. Oh, I can see him still. Hours later, just epic, wonderful.
I've been watching Tokyo Vice on Max.
Oh yeah.
Great show. Does this inspire you to want to do more Tokyo?
Oh
Vice?
yeah, we would love to go back. Yeah, and I think it's a Godzilla. How can you not? And we talked to Toho, and they had hoped we would actually film on their stages. We did a tour of Toho Studios. You want to see something? I'll show you something real quick. Hang on.
Please. This is great. Matt always exceeds expectations, and that's why I value having Matt back. And I'm so glad we're friends, and he's willing to come back. Everybody, it's good stuff, as you know.
Don't tell Takamasa that I stole this, but I kept my Toho Studio.
Oh, hold on, zooming in because that looks amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
Everybody for listening. It's a Toho Studios badge.
It was my visitor badge.
Outstanding.
They showed me the secret room where they keep the Godzillas.
Did you put any of the rubber suits on?
I touched one. I shook his hand.
Fair enough. That's close enough. I
had to feel it. I had to know what it felt like.
I wonder how many actors have worn the rubber suit, because I know one guy did it for a really long time.
Yeah, he just passed away. There's a famous photo of 3 of them walking outside of Toho Studios, each of them doing their kind of walk. You can find it. But there are 3 guys primarily.
Okay.
But yeah, it was amazing. It's amazing, and there's a big Godzilla statue right outside, and then Toshiro Mifune billboard, on the side of a shoot. But yeah, but there's stages we didn't get a chance to shoot on their stages. But I know that we would, if we get a season 2, we would love to go back to Japan, and we would love to film at Toho proper. Actually be on the stage where they filmed all this stuff would be amazing. In the secret Godzilla room, there was these baker's racks with boxes and film canisters on them. And it was sort of across from the Godzillas. They were showing me the Godzillas, and I turned around and I saw the baker's racks, and I said, Takamasa, what's in this baker's rack? He goes, oh, don't worry about those. Those are those are Kurosawa-san's cameras and lenses.
Wow. Jesus Christ. Unbelievable.
Shh, don't let this get around. Don't put it on a podcast or anything.
Isn't it great, Matt, that we know more and more about the film business beyond Hollywood? And I'm really glad the Oscars, that's the one, I think, great thing of the last decade or so, that they're much more in tune with the fact.
They've been doing the Oscars much longer than a decade, Joan. You got to hold.
Well, but I'm saying that they beyond having best foreign film, that when things win from Korea or other countries, and it's like, no, there's a bigger appreciation of this. I
love Bong Joon's acceptance speech. It's like, if you could just get over the little inch of text, there's a whole world of cinema waiting for you. It's so great.
For real.
He's the best. His movie got pushed. I'm bummed. It was supposed to come out in the summer. I think it's 2025 now. Robert Pattinson's in it.
Did you and Chris watch it all? That and again, actually, you guys were probably knee deep in the process. But that Jason Sudeikis, Anne Hathaway kaiju movie.
Oh, I saw it when it came out.
And I'm blanking now.
Colossal?
I think it was Colossal or something like that.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Jack, correct us if we're wrong. But I love that. And again, now they're playing with kaiju movies, and again going beyond, that gasp and pointing to the sky. Somewhere Nick Adams is smiling at the sophistication of the current kaiju movies.
Did you see When a Monster Calls? It's calling it a kaiju doesn't really work, but there's a boy and his mother is mortally ill, and as she's wasting away, a giant begins to torment him, and it's voiced by Liam Neeson.
Oh wow.
And it's kind of like this kid's imaginary friend is a manic depressive monster. It's beautiful. It's a really beautiful movie. I think there's I'm not kind of realizing it until just now, but I think that was definitely in somewhere in the mix of like that sort of, oh yeah, it's a giant monster in this movie, but it's really about this kid losing his mom, I'm
going to ask the chat again if you have more questions to chime in, because I'm going to start talking about other things that I'm wondering if Matt saw. Did you see Clive Owen's Monsieur Spade?
I have half an hour of the last episode left. I was watching it and like everybody's starting to die and double cross each other. I'm like, oh shit, I'm too tired. I got to stop. Half an hour left. Fucking love it. Oh my God. Oh my God. And him, the end of that first episode where he just puts his hand on her shoulder and like goes so small. It's just like, oh fuck, he's so good. He's so good. It's so great. Guys, get yourself AMC Plus, because then you get Shudder. They give you Shudder for free if you get AMC Plus. They throw Shudder in. You gotta get Shudder.
Shudder, not only for the movies, but the documentaries that Shudder makes.
Documentaries on Shudder are amazing. Joe Bob is on Shudder.
Yes.
Yeah. You know,
the Blu-ray. Are the Blu-rays
weird? You know, sign up for Arrow. The Arrow channel is really great too. Between Arrow and Shudder, you're in good shape. Those are my two go-to apps. But it's on AMC Plus. Scott Frank wrote with Tom Fontana, wrote it all, and Scott Frank directed it all. It looks incredible. It's just wonderful. It's just wonderful. I got this last episode. I'm gonna watch it tonight.
But I get it, Matt. I mean, like you said, you were probably too tired, Ben. You really want to pay attention. But I kind of savor a lot of these shows. Matt, I'll even be honest with you. I waited until I knew I was talking with you to watch the last 2 episodes of Monarch. Because I didn't want it to end.
Sweet.
I mean, it's like, this is too good. I went through
episode 9 was mine. So, I appreciate that.
Dude.
Did you ever see The Bureau? It was on AMC Plus, probably still on AMC Plus. And folks, listen, if we didn't tell you on AMC Plus with the Shudder that they throw in for free, with Monsieur Spade, Scott Frank's new series starring Clive Owen as Sam Spade, retired in the south of France. Jack, I knew you would. Jack, and I got your email right before this, funny enough. Old Battle Axe Jack. And I owe you an email from a year or 5 ago. Anyway, Monster Spade is great. It's The Bureau. Did you see The Bureau?
I have not seen The Bureau. I'll have to watch it. I've been watching Spade on regular AMC cable wise. I got to cut the cord, Matt.
Yeah.
But no, and also listen, other people, certainly before Bogey played Sam Spade. I love Howard Duff on the radio was an exceptional Sam Spade as well. Yeah. And we all know how great Clive Owen is, but he's doing his own thing. And somewhere in there is Bogart's DNA.
Yeah.
And he's channeling Bogart in the best way, but still doing an individual performance.
Yeah. And a little Robert Mitchum. Is this kind of...
Oh, sure.
Yeah. Yeah, The Bureau. So The Bureau is... And they're remaking it. They're in America, and Michael Fassbender is going to be the guy. And Clooney was going to direct it, but now he's just kind of producing it. And I can't remember... They just announced who's going to direct it, but it's great. It's about the French Secret Service, and this guy is undercover in Jordan, I think, and falls in love with a lady, and then his mission ends, and they call him home, and he doesn't want to let her go, and it is exquisite and extraordinary and very French, and there's one gunshot fired in the entire first season, and it happens off camera while someone is watching it on a screen, and it is like the most tense, extraordinary. It's great. Matthias Almeric shows up in it. It's got... I don't even want to spoil it for you. It's epic. Okay. It's epic. And even better, the guy, it was huge in France, and the guy got kind of like over it, the guy who created it, and so he quit like right before the end of the 5th season, and he gave the last 2 episodes to another filmmaker who had not watched the show, and was like, hey man, have fun. And so its ending is kind of like The Sopranos of France. Like, it was incredibly controversial because in the last 2 episodes, someone who had not spent the last 10 years of their life working on the show shows up, and it's just like, okay, great, let's It's just it's terrific, really terrific. Love The Bureau.
That's great, and 5 seasons of it.
Yeah.
Wow. All right, you're selling me on. I've been thinking about getting AMC Plus and losing one of my other streamers, and I think you're making a good case for it. So that's good to hear. I didn't see Archie, and I know I
Oh
love
yeah,
Jason Isaacs.
neither.
And that Matt, a lot of people are having that kind of whatever.
Yeah,
I just was so amazed that how much with the makeup. Jason Isaacs is not
it
the
was
guy we're thinking
insane when
Matt.
I got the email. Like my mom watches so much British murder television that Acorn TV sent her an email that's like, Karen, we have many other kinds of programming on Acorn.
Oh my God, Big Brother knowing what your mom's watching.
Yeah. But they want to let we have other shows. But but I got the email and it said, Jason, what's his name, is Archie, and I was like, what? And it was one of those things where like the images load in the email, and then the banner came up. I was like, son of a bitch, Jason Isaacs really looks like Cary Grant.
Scary.
My favorite podcast, The Secret History of Hollywood.
I listen to it all the time, Matt.
Yeah, his Cary Grant epic is epic. So
yes, it is.
I think part of me wanted to wait for that to all get wrapped up, or for me to finish listening to it. I'm not sure how much is left, but
he's got the most soothing voice. I should really support him.
Because, yeah. Oh, dude, you get all the secret stuff if you support him. You get all the secret stuff. Oh my God, yeah. No, yeah. It's the easiest. Whatever, $10, whatever it is. It is so worth it. And he keeps all of it archived because he'll rotate things in and out.
Right. On the free feed, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, I love Katrina Longworth too, and you must remember this. But this guy's voice, my God, it's hypnotic. He really sucks you in.
Yeah,
he's marvelous. Tremendous podcast,
and it's much. It's very different than Katrina's. Like it's such it's very different. It's a very different jam, but I love it. I absolutely love it.
No, I'm with you on both of those. And I know we've talked about, or I think we've talked about this show before. Jack is bringing up Slow Horses on Apple.
Yeah, I like it. It's fine.
I like it.
I like it. I want to love it. You know what I mean?
I understand.
It's like Poor Things. I liked it. I wanted to love it. Oldman's great, and it's so fun to see him. My favorite thing in the last season is like the first episode. He's told like you got to get your steps in because you're wildly unhealthy and you're going to die. And then he literally doesn't sit down until the 8th or 9th episode. I don't know, but no one ever points it out. But he just spends the rest of that season walking. He literally never sits down until I think he's held hostage or something like that. Whatever. He's in a car. He has to get in a car. It's the only time to do it. Yeah, it's like a great little detail.
Joe Mulvey joining us. Joe says, love Monarch. Brought me into Godzilla for the first time ever. But Dan doesn't make me want more Fraction comics.
Thanks, Joe. Here's I got another thing over here.
I was going to say, this is great. Matt's letting us in, everybody. The Inner Sanctum. Outstanding. Mario Tienberg also mentions that Blue Eye Samurai is fantastic. It is indeed. It took me a while to get on the program with that, but that's an incredible anime.
It's our 10th anniversary of Sex Criminals, and coming out soon in one giant, beautiful softcover, the complete edition, with a pull quote from my father, who once said, "Hey, with this thing, you're putting food on your family's table. There's no shame in that." So there you go. It's by me and Chip Zdarsky.
Indeed.
Writer of Batman. Did you know the writer of Batman used to draw dick jokes for me? For me. That's a bad way to put it. We used to make dick jokes that I would make him draw dick jokes. And he did it beautifully. And here it is. And it's, oh God, how long is this? Oh my God, it's like 700 pages.
Jesus.
720 pages. There you go. That's coming out soon. So that way you can check that out. If you like sex comedies, that's good. You can check that out. Adventure Man, that's rolling.
Indeed.
And yeah, no, I want to, I like comics. I miss comics. I want to do comics too. But TV is like floodwater; it just occupies every inch you'll give it.
Meltzer told me that he likes to alternate between novels and comics, and it's kind of a good brain scrub to go back to the comic book format before he hits the next novel and stuff.
But I got my next 3 ideas all written down and ready to go. 4 ideas actually. That's 4 ideas.
For comics?
Yep. No, it's all on my. What I do, I keep little index cards, and when I write things that I can't write, I write them on the index card. I'm like, well, that's one day I'm going to do that. I don't know. It's hard. We don't actually have 3 finished issues of Casanova on my hard drive that we haven't published. But we've literally never made a dime on that book, and we love it more than anything. I don't want to speak for Ba and Moon, but like, it's just like, it just never earns, and it takes a while to do, and like, shit. So yeah, we're never not gonna do it, but like, I think we'll maybe finish it. Like, I don't know what we're gonna do. I don't know. We'll figure it out.
Because I was gonna say, much like the Zdarsky Sex Criminals volume, maybe that's the kind, especially given, as I remember, the original format being like 15 pages or whatever, and then all the back matter. So it would be great. I saw Fabio. Fabio came to Chicago last year.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I was so happy to see him because I hadn't seen him since that year I came to Rose City like 5 years ago or whatever. It's great to see him, man. They're tremendous to me, which I love.
He went to Fabio got invited. He went to Bloomington, and
I know Bloomington, Illinois. Yes, indeed, my Illinois State. I
was texting him like, I used to live there.
I didn't know
David Walker was there like a week ago.
Yes, he was.
And like, the theater he did his talk at was around the corner from where the first comic book store I ever went to was. And it used to be the Dollar Theater in Normal. And like, I spent much of 1984 and 1985 in that theater. I saw the first movie I ever saw by myself in that theater.
If I knew you, because I was down there back then. That was around college years.
I may have gone dumpster diving at your dumpster. Yeah, no, I was. It was like 9.
Was that comic store? Was that Dreamth?
Yes, it was Dreamth. It was Dreamth. Dreamth. Dreamth.
Bradstreet and I were. He was at Wesleyan, at Illinois Wesleyan, same time as at Illinois State. So we only knew each other through the comic stores. And when we reconnected in the early 2000s, we were like, what was with Dreamth? And he's like, I have no idea.
It was run by a guy named Lloyd.
Yes, indeed. The psycho cowboy, I used to call him.
Yes, the gentleman cowboy. I used to call him the gentleman cowboy.
Well, because you're a nicer person than always in denim and a cowboy hat. But like, I owe that guy my career. I don't know what happened to him. I don't know what happened to the store. I've tried to look, and I don't know, Lloyd, if you're out there, buddy, thank you. Yeah, absolutely, man. No, he it's so funny. I got a couple radio friends.
Over under on you and me being there at the same time. I mean, we had to have been in that store at the same time. I mean, once I figured out Wednesday was new comic day, every Wednesday I'd go to the store. Maybe Saturdays if I couldn't get there, right? Because I was a kid. But like, the over under on that, like, I remember buying Dark Knight 3 and 4 there. I remember buying somebody pushing Burns Superman on me quite aggressively. Watchmen picking up there. Like,
yes.
That was. So we had to. That's amazing. We absolutely had to have been in that place at the same time.
See, and everybody got to understand.
It was called Dreamth.
And this
like Sylvester the Putty Tat bites his tongue and is trying to tell you what happened.
And I even asked him, I'm like, Dreamth? He's like, yeah, Dreamth, that's right. And he'd be like, new Marvels are coming in. My friend Jeff Quarter from radio went to Illinois State as well. And we used to laugh in good-natured ways because, again, we love Lloyd. Yeah. But, absolutely, man. I do know.
I won't say it. Kind of like a Frank Oz character voice. He almost sort of back in the back, as I remember. Yeah.
But I read the Rolling Stone article that they did about Frank Miller and Dark Knight, and that brought
Bruce
me back.
Bruce Willis was on the cover.
God, I didn't remember that, but that's fantastic. That brought me back to comics in college, and thank God they were only $1 each back then.
Yeah.
So I could afford it budget wise and everything.
Yeah.
And, oh my god! And I remember those great Dave Gibbons promotional posters of like the comedian sizing up somebody, or Rorschach walking down the empty alley and stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff.
You're the only Dreamth. We shared Dreamth. Oh my god.
That's what I started saying, man, because truly
I literally have a tab open on my phone where I found an alt weekly from Bloomington from 1987 that Lloyd used to advertise the store in. I literally have PDFs that I was able to find like literally right now. It just I'm finding Lloyd is a half obsession of mine.
Everyone's got to understand that Matt and I, and now it's another wrinkle in the fact that
so
we were
crazy.
both in Chicago. Matt used to listen to the sports station that I worked at, and he incredibly flattered me at a WonderCon one year. He's like, I remember that parody song you wrote. That was amazing. And I'm like, oh, man, I wrote something you like. That's fantastic. So here's another one, man. Dreamth and yes, Bloomington Normal. That theater is run by the manager. I know he's really tight with Scotty Young.
Oh, nice.
Because every time Scotty comes back to Chicago to work his table at C2E2, the guy's there. And I always talk to him about Normal Theater. I saw Zelig there.
I saw E.T. It was the first movie where I ever got left alone. I saw E.T. there. So it would have been 83, 84. So it probably would have been on like a re-release. But it was a dollar theater. It was a dollar theater, and I just went there all the time.
No, and it really, and it's such an oasis for classic cinema and new stuff. And I'm so glad it's still there, and it looks great.
Yeah, they really restored it. It looks beautiful. Yeah, but when Walker was posting he was there, I was like, oh, holy shit. Oh my God, that was the dollar theater. I couldn't believe it.
George wonders if there might be any more Hawkeye in your future.
I don't know. Never say never. I think it'd have to be something real special. You know what I mean? I think like, what if it sucks? You know, if that book is kind of taken on such a life of its own outside of what me and David and Annie and everybody did, Javier and Francesca, that like it would be, if it sucked, it would retroactively make that, it would put an asterisk on, you know what I mean? Like my favorite band is the Pixies, but I haven't listened to any other new records because what if they're terrible? I like the idea, like if they're great, the idea that there's like 3 great Pixies albums I've never heard is really cool, and maybe I'll find them one day. But like, I don't want it to retroactively, you know. I don't know. I'd be weird about Hawkeye for sure. And I can't imagine doing it without the David. So I don't know. I've worked with David again in a heartbeat, and he and I always do this kind of dance around one another. It's like a assassin's tango.
Yes, absolutely.
Trying to seduce each other on the dance floor with knives in our teeth, and we'll pair up one day again.
What
one of these things?
One
of these would be perfect for David.
It would be great.
I don't want to say that I thought of it for him, but I kind of thought of it for him. If he doesn't draw it, I don't know who's gonna. So we'll see.
I hope you and Elsa find another project in the near future.
Yeah, one of these I wrote for her. So fingers crossed.
Excellent to hear, dude. I swear, introducing me to Chip and Ilza are 2 of the gifts you've given me because I love speaking to them, and I'm so pleased. And again, both of them, the way their careers have evolved from my first meeting of theirs, it's like good for both of you. And really, Chip, like you said, insane. I mean, great run on Daredevil, great run on Batman, everything he's doing, and again, like you said, the guy that was drawing your dick jokes for you and stuff.
Yeah. Well, yeah. That I don't. I made it sound. Yeah, I phrased that poorly, and I regret it. I want you to know. But but yeah, no, I have a gift, I think, for recognizing artists that really don't need to work with writers, but haven't quite put that together for themselves yet. So I can like get in there and be like, "Look at you, you fucking genius! You see what I see in you, you superstar. Leave me and go."
Going back to because I really think in a lot of ways you were Chip's godfather, helping him kind of get his feet in Marvel and stuff, and
Chip did that entirely of his own ability.
Way to go, Chip.
Yeah,
all right.
and just being
sorry, Chip. No
yeah.
disrespect.
Yeah. No. I mean, I didn't mean to cut you. I just don't want to take like.
No, please. I want you to clarify. That's all right.
No, Chip's brilliant genius, and all of these things would have come. You know, he did, but maybe people became more aware of him because of Sex Criminals. But like I was out the door, I think, by the time he actually started kind of working there. I think I was gone. So I did try. We were doing Sex Criminals while he was doing Howard the Duck, and I tried to convince him in his last Howard the Duck issue to have Howard's hat blow off his head and go tumbling out of frame. And then in Sex Criminals, we'd have a fedora come tumbling into frame, and John would pick it up and wear it for the rest of the issue. But he wouldn't do it because he's a coward.
That's like Walt Simonson putting Clark and Lois in Thor.
Yeah.
And some of the other 70s crossovers that subversively Marvel or DC would throw in their books.
I think, tell me if this is in good taste or great taste. But I think if we are so lucky that DC does some kind of big fancy reprint of Superman's pal Jimmy Olsen, the book that me and Steve Lieber and Nathan Fairbairn did, that the cover should be a recreation of Superman versus Muhammad Ali, but it'd be Jimmy and like all the bad guys, but the audience would be everyone who's still alive as they look now. And everyone that's dead, the seats would just be empty.
I love it.
It's a great idea, right? It's a great idea.
I thought you were going to populate them with all the various Olsen iterations of Turtle Boy.
That's funny. That's a good one. Or sort of doing a modern version with everybody's another. But like, I think there's something about it being like 30% full. like it would just be,
Oh God,
who doesn't want to see Steve Lieber draw Howard Chaykin? And Howard Chaykin's
that's right. Howard is on the cover.
That's right.
Well, that's literally, Matt. You're right. I don't even think it's 30%. It might only be 20 or less because John Wayne's gone. Kelly Savalas is gone. Lucille Ball,
Steve Lawrence is gone. I know. I think it's
that's 4/5 of the Welcome Back Cotter cast no longer with us.
Wouldn't that be amazing? Oh my God. Just that somebody would have to do the job of going through and finding out. Oh, it'd be so good.
I love it.
So tasteless, so insanely berserk. I love it.
Well, and honestly, man, I'm so glad you brought up Jimmy because I never can talk enough about that series without absolutely, Matt. You and Steve at your best, and that book and what Rucka was doing with the Lois book with Perkins.
Yeah. It was a fun little minute there. It was a fun little minute.
Absolutely, man. Too funny. You're killing me.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Someone asked, because I don't think you're a fight fan, Matt, are you?
Not really. But I do have a take on the Tyson versus Jake Paul exhibition match.
I would love to hear it, Matt.
Do you remember you remember Mike, this isn't my joke, but I don't know whose joke it was. So forgive me for stealing it. Mike Tyson has a chance to do the funniest thing ever. That's my take on it.
All right. I first of all, real fast, Joe, I am a little nervous Tyson being 58. Now he looks great hitting the mitts. The mitts don't hit back. That said, I don't think Jacob Paul has the skill to truly match against Mike. But I'm also afraid of a bullshit matchup, much like Logan Paul's fight against Floyd Mayweather, which was complete carnival bullshit.
Right.
And what bothers me about both of the Pauls is they diminish my sport.
Sure.
And
I don't know that Iron Mike has that in him. I think they might think it's carnival bullshit.
I agree with you.
I don't know that Mike would receive that note.
I hope to God it's Full Metal Mike, whatever level he's at. Because did you see that exhibition he did? Exhibition air quotes with Roy Jones, and he beat the shit out of Roy Jones.
Yeah.
And I won't deny that it made me very happy. Roy Jones thought he was going into a pity pat exhibition. It's like Tony Burton in the first Rocky movie.
Yeah.
You know, he thinks it's a show. He doesn't know it's a damn fight.
Doesn't this kid know it's a
Yeah.
I mean, and look, I was a big Mike fan.
Oh yeah.
Before some things, but I was never much of a boxing guy. But had that moment of Mike's kind of ascendancy and just that unbelievable, unstoppable, like, wasn't until like Ronda Rousey that there was a fighter that was so brutally efficient, and just like, fuck, so no, I would love it if the old lion came back to roar one last time.
I completely agree, and he's keeping himself in great shape. And he, again, I mean, the Roy fight was like 4 years ago or 3.5 years ago, but he looked goddamn great. And also that era of Tyson from the 80s and really before he went to jail the first time, he tore through so many of these former champions and contenders in ways that Larry Holmes didn't, or when they fought each other, it didn't happen. And Tyson was just destroying them in 90 seconds, not just Michael Spinks.
Yeah.
Amazing. Anyway.
No, I'm a amateur. I saw that headline though, and it was like, oh boy, come on, Mike.
Well, just again, please destroy him. And everyone, if you're curious, it's going to be on Netflix, so you won't even have to pay pay-per-view for it. It will be on Netflix. So unless they decide to charge him,
I've found him becoming circumspect and open somewhat about that in his middle age to be fascinating. The inner, and as he continues the journey he is on, like, as a powerful human being, and for good or for ill, I wish him well on his journey. And I'd put $20 on him in a heartbeat.
Literally, one of my best friends called me today and said the same thing, that through all the pain and suffering, literally, not just prison, but a lot in his personal life.
I mean, he's clearly deeply invested in therapy now.
Yes.
He's clearly been on this earnest battle with himself,
I agree. Art Baltazar says hello.
Hey, Art, how you doing, buddy?
Good guy. I disagree with you, Joe. Joe says Mike was never an endurance boxer.
Never had to be.
He went the distance a few times in his prime, and also much like Foreman, I got the opportunity to talk to Muhammad Ali before Foreman fought Holyfield, and truly it was an amazing. And we really did have a great conversation, despite the Parkinson's trapping him in his body. His mind was still razor sharp, and he's like, George takes his time now. George knows how to pace himself. And based on what I saw with Roy Jones and the idea, again, hopefully he still has it this way, I think Mike knows how to pace himself. And also, I don't think Jake Paul has the skill to force Tyson to work harder than necessary. I just don't.
Yeah. I remember seeing him train other fighters, and his mind for combos and tactics would come out as he was shouting at his trainees these numerical combinations. He was just, it was like he could just see that part of the matrix, and just to hear that instead of, just the tactician he was, but also that fucking haymaker was epic. So, and I also think about, Ali famously on Arsenio Hall with Tyson, and Arsenio said, who'd win in your prime? And Ali made a joke and everybody laughed and kind of did the thing, but then like he kind of nodded and he pointed at Mike and he was like, he'd do it, and I don't think that was he was Muhammad Ali. He did not have a recessive ego. I think if he wanted to make a joke like I'm the greatest that ever was, he would have done it or whatever. But I think he legitimately thought like, that guy would have hammered the shit.
I've seen that interview, and I mean, you could argue that Ali, or rather Tyson, was a better and more evolved Joe Frazier in a lot of ways, and especially
Yeah, the thing that stuck with me was that more than some of those fights was that whatever it was. I don't know where I saw it or how I saw it, but just seeing Mike Tyson train other fighters, spitting those numbers out, and just seeing his tactical mind as he was giving an interview, but half watching another fight out of the corner of his eye was like, okay, there's more going on there than, he's. But I'm not the sweet science eludes me, so I'll take your word for it. But like I said, he's got a chance.
I disagree, and again, another wrinkle in our relationship. I had no idea. And I will only text you when it is a big fight that the world is paying attention to.
Great.
Those are few and far between, unfortunately.
Yeah,
but
I did at some point during the pandemic. I don't remember why, but I looked up a bunch of Lucha Libre fights because I was like wondering like how do they do this in COVID? And it was great because they were just moving them all to like outside. They build like a ring in like a junkyard or whatever.
Yeah,
at these open air kind of arenas and stuff like that. And man, I saw a guy go off a turnbelt, whip around a dude's neck 360 degrees, bounce back off the ropes, come back, nut him into the corner post.
Turnbuckle, right? Yeah.
Guy goes back, then does a flip. After it gets something, does the flip, lands, and then takes his mask off to reveal he was wearing another mask. Motherfuck. You want to talk about sports entertainment? Do that shit wearing 2 full face masks. It was amazing.
Have you seen those Samson or Samo movies that are half wrestling, half Mexican horror films?
Santo. Yeah, of course.
Santo, that's right. Santo, pardon me.
No, yeah, totally. Yeah. And
oh my God.
Arrow has a fancy Big Brother revelator. It's a label. It's like a quasi Criterion, but they've put like 1 or 2 box sets of like those Santo movies. I love those. Those are great.
That's great, Matt. This is terrific. No, I'm getting an education.
I love. No, Santo's great. I used to I figured out that on Zoom you could make a video your background. I used to have I think I would just play Santo Powerhouse Indicator. Thank you, Jack.
That's the adult there or the Big Brother.
That's the fancy Arrow, but it's great. They in fact just put out a nice Blu-ray collection of the Ranown westerns. Speaking of Bud Boddicker, as I was earlier, Santos versus Dracula's daughter, maybe. I don't know. I would have a Santo. I would have a Santo movie playing.
I believe Santo versus the Aztec Mummy, I believe, was one of them.
That was good. Yeah. But it was always just nice to have as my backdrop. It was like a Santo movie. Just every now and again, there's a Mexican wrestler wearing a suit talking on a telephone. It's fucking great.
There's the great documentary about the Olympia in Mexico City. Mm-hmm. That was like the main mecca for like the Madison Square Garden of wrestling down in Mexico City. And I had that filmmaker on years ago. And it was great because I paired it with another documentarian who made that Best of Enemies about Gore Vidal. And,
and Norman Mailer.
William Buckley.
Oh, Buckley. Right.
Yeah. So...
You remember what that documentary was called? I'll check it out.
Best of Enemies.
No, the Olympia one.
Oh, shit! I'll look up. All right, I'll look up on the word. Everybody, look up on the Word Balloon Library, and you'll find it. Okay. But I'll send it to Matt. I'll send an email to Matt.
Yeah. I can't.
Hurting his brain thinking of it. But it was really good. It was really good.
Yeah, that stuff's fabulous. It's just.
And of course, Matt doesn't need the Gore Vidal, William Buckley intellectual documentary. It's like, nah, give me the wrestling. It's cool.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Matt, I've kept you 90 minutes. I can let you go if you're tired.
Yeah, I gotta go walk some dogs and help my kid with an essay. Although I could literally do this all night and enjoy it, but yeah, thank you, Word Balloon peeps. Thanks for coming in and hanging out. Contractual shenanigans to not destroy the product is Mike Jones's pre-prediction of the. I just realized there was a comment that I could click over here. I'm like, that's really
Yeah, that's yeah. Exactly. I am afraid of that, and that's more of a Logan thing than a Jake thing, because I do give Jake credit for fighting Tyson Fury's cousin or nephew Tommy, and they had a legitimate fight, and Tommy won, and it's like good, man, because I think Jake's a little more serious than Logan when it comes to boxing, but again, regardless, and they're big YouTubers, and I get it, and they bring a big crowd, but I'm sorry, I'm a purist. It's like, if you're gonna do it, do it.
Yeah,
and don't,
like I said,
don't fight bums, don't fight MMA guys.
Whoa, I'm sure those are fighting words somewhere in the world.
No. What I'm saying is, if you're gonna fight an MMA guy, fight an MMA fight. Don't just force.
All right, don't box an MMA guy. All right, I'm gonna fight an MMA guy. Okay, no feet.
Right, exactly, man.
All right, that's a pretty good. Okay, yeah, I got you.
I was telling you before we started, Nagano, who was the MMA heavyweight champ, that it was just like watching Rocky, floored Tyson Fury, and Tyson Fury really had to fight for his life to win that 10-round decision in December. Well, he just fought Anthony Joshua, and Anthony blew him out in 2 rounds. Wow. Because they were boxing and not doing MMA.
Yeah,
so,
feet are it's a whole other thing when you can use your feet, man.
100%. Words to live by.
Absolutely. Everyone knows Mike Tyson's famous aphorism that, everybody's got a plan until they get punched in the mouth.
That's exactly
right. I'd
like
to add, everyone's got a plan until they get kicked in the head. It's also
as Dean Martin taught us.
Till they get kicked in the mouth. Ain't that a kick in the mouth?
I miss you, my man.
I miss you too,
this
buddy.
Has been great.
Dreamth forever.
That is blowing my mind again. Another way that we're tied together.
Yeah, we're Balloon listeners. Please, if you were in the Bloomington Normal area of Illinois between roughly 1984 and 1990, and you know anything about Lloyd, the gentleman cowboy that ran a comic book store called Dreamth on Front Street,
right across from the pub too.
Yeah, I think it was on Front Street in downtown Bloomington. Please reach out. Let us. Lloyd, I want to find you. I want to thank you for everything, for your infinite patience with me.
Let's hope he's still with us. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
But Jesus. Killing me, Maddie. Guys. Beautiful conversation. Thank you, buddy.
Literally, it's so... Everyone I tell that story to, they go, Dreamth? I'm like, yeah, Dreamth.
Kelly's going to be like, what?
Yeah.
Hug Kel for me.
We'll do.
Hug the kids for me.
All right.
And no, great stuff, Maddie. When there's something new, I'll be bugging you again. You know it.
It sounds like a plan, my man. I'm here.
Thanks, brother. Matt Fraction, everybody. Glad you enjoyed it. Next week, a lot of fun conversations coming on Word Balloon. David Pepos is going to come back, and we're going to talk. Dean Haskell's going to talk to me on Monday. Yeah. We're going to do a new podcast with Artie and Franco. So all that coming up. I hope you'll join us. Until then, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy.